live.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Btec Philosophers with me, Michael Odewale, and my good friend Elliot Steele, the podcast for people who are dumb but want to understand philosophy about life on a deeper level. And I feel like we're doing a good job. We're 6 episodes in, and you know we discussed some pretty deep things at depth, haven't we, Elliot? So far.
Yeah, we've gotten into it. We've philosophized.
We hate was last week.
Yeah.
We got to the bottom of our aggression and our anger. Did you reckon you solved some stuff?
No,
You didn't solve any issues.
I didn't solve any internal issues. No,
Any lingering stuff.
there's still a lot of hate in my heart. I do it. Right, you saw me on the train last week on the tube. I can't stand diverers
Just diverers.
on the underground. Does my nutting.
What if the diverers are outside of the train sort of environment? It's just diverers in general.
It's still not ideal. It still annoys me, especially when you've got someone just stood there. You know what? I do this as well, but when I do it, it's different because it's me. You know, I'm God.
You're the main character in your own story.
I'm the main character in everyone's story.
I mean,
Even someone in Bangladesh who's never met me or heard of me, I'm the main character.
Well, from your perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're the antagonist.
It's all about me. Protagonist? I wouldn't be the antagonist. I could be an antagonist.
You
I think
could
who's
be-
the antagonist, the cunt who doesn't get out the fucking way on the escalator.
It's going to be a recurring theme for our pod, just Elliot's hate of diverers. That's an early C word that we dropped there, right there.
Let them know early doors what we're about.
Sorry for our under 10-year-old listeners who are, I'm sure, is
I still haven't changed it from clean on the Apple podcast. I keep forgetting to do that. It is going to cause some issues when we're taken off Apple.
when we are taking off all platforms.
When I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know how to do it. Last week you'll have noticed the podcast for the first 10 seconds there was just dead air because I didn't really know how to trim it, and then it came time to put it out, so I just put it out.
I think people find our lack of podcast editing skills endearing, and I say it's you, but I thought I would be humble and try and take some of the responsibility. A lot of our pods, they still end with us just sort of wrapping up as we're leaving the room. You got anything going on after this? That seems to be how we end every pod. It's not a sharp end that we figured out.
No, we're thinking about getting food or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, what have you got, guys? Go get a pizza.
That's
I don't know
how-
why we're letting the listeners in. I think the listeners like that, though.
That's our big sign off at the moment. Phoebe, how are you this week? We're remembering to introduce Phoebe
Thanks
this
very
week, our
much.
valued producer.
Yeah, having a good time. Glad to be here.
Working on other pods as well, but this is kind of a main pod right here. She's working on other
I think
platforms.
they would be very mad if you heard me saying main pod.
I think this is the main character's main pod.
Yeah.
It's certainly the best podcast that
The thing
you
is,
work
I've
on.
been here since the dawn of this pod,
Yes.
so I
Yes.
feel a little closer to this one than the other ones who's had like 6,000 different producers. You know.
You were just the right fit from us early on, and also the only person available early on. So
Yeah.
it's kind of that beautiful marriage. That's just kind of
That is my selling point: availability.
that's it. That's it
There we
right
go.
there. Everything about this place. So Elliot, man, just another week of philosophizing or stuff. Has anything happened in this week to you would say that you've been pondering on?
I know you meant a yes and with these things.
Yeah.
No.
Nothing. You've not been pondering on
just
stuff.
dead air in my brain. I've just been working loads.
Just been working loads.
Yeah.
Working away from. You're working on your arms. Your arms are looking great
Thank you.
right now.
Thank you. I got body dysmorphia because of the gym now, so it never looks good enough.
Because like you just, no matter what you improve, there's always something left else to improve.
Yeah, I've had to separate at the moment. I haven't been to jiu-jitsu since last Monday, I think.
Elliot does sort of like fighting stuff, and you may have noticed it from the other pods where he mentions it probably once every 5 minutes that he does that. Continue.
You've asked me how my week's been. I've gone to tell you how my week's been.
You went
And
to
then
tell me about an activity.
and I'm dealing with, because I haven't been in, I can't, sometimes I get annoyed at myself for not going, and I have to separate. That's not what I do. It's not important. It's just this thing that keeps me. Basically, Mike, what I want to do all the time is just go out and have a pint.
Right.
That's what I want to do.
And you're fighting that side of you with comedy, with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I just if I got to heaven, if there was a heaven, like a personal heaven for me, what it would be.
Just one for you, don't want to go to the global sort of collective heaven that everyone else joins.
Well, this is the thing about heaven.
Because there'll be differers there. There'll be differers in heaven.
Oh,
That's the thing. Like with heaven, if a collective heaven, surely it's going to be very similar to life on Earth, because we've like collectively made this ideal life on Earth, which definitely isn't ideal. So if you went to a collective heaven, I reckon it wouldn't be that good.
Yeah, but there'll be like no council tax, things like that.
Yeah, you could get that in a personal heaven as well.
This is true.
I think if you have more autonomy over it.
So you want, like, when you say personal heaven, do you mean like an apartment to yourself and then you kind of
No,
join?
it's
Elliot
like
World.
My idea, yeah, in my head of what heaven is.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. I don't want someone else's, because that's a group project. At the end of the day, that's a group project, and as we all know, they don't work.
Right.
My personal heaven would be, I'm with my mates,
Okay.
and we're just having a pint, and
Who's paying?
And the World Cup's on.
Who's paying for
But not even an important a game that's great. I'd want to be watching a match that's great. You know, if you have something like Senegal v Uruguay, and all of a sudden it's a great game.
Like you weren't invested at the beginning, but you're like, fucking hell, it's 3-2 now.
Yeah, and everyone, you know, that France-Switzerland game of the Euros. I watched that on my own, and I took my trousers off when that third Switzerland goal went in. I was so excited.
For context, where were you?
I was on my own at home.
Okay, that makes
Wait, so you got so excited. What, did you start getting hot? Is that why
I just started ripping my clothes off. It was. You remember that game? For people that don't know, Switzerland went 1-0 up against France, and I was doing that thing of going, they're ropey, they're going to lose it. So France end up going 3-1 up, and then Switzerland come back in the last 10 minutes, make it 3-3 against France, the World Cup winners, and then Mbappe misses a penalty. He misses the final penalty, and it puts Switzerland out. And that was when it came a thing that England were playing the next day, and we were facing Germany, and it was that thing of, if we beat Germany, we can potentially do this.
Right, yeah.
But that would be my heaven, is watching just the World Cups on.
Just football analysis and no trousers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in this personal heaven of yours, the football, are you watching Earth football? Are you watching the football of dead players?
This
who are now
is
playing in
for the
game?
people in heaven to work out. This isn't my job. I don't want the admin.
This is for Heaven FIFA, who are hopefully less corrupt than Earth FIFA.
But this is why I don't believe in heaven, because once you start getting into the logistics of it, it doesn't make any sense. The same way, if I was to believe in anything of an afterlife, which I don't, I think maybe you experience this level of consciousness and the feelings. That's why you should never get mad at people for doing bad things, because maybe it's predetermined that they have to do bad things to experience emotions to move to a higher state after they die.
Sorry, I was just, this is a philosophy pod, so every now and then there will be dead air where I just try and ingest and understand what is being said.
So that's really interesting. So you think you shouldn't ever get mad at people because they might be predetermined to do bad things?
Well, Hitler, I know he's always the example, but what if he had to do that, to go through that,
so he could grow?
So on the next level of consciousness, there's an understanding of what that feeling is, or what goes on there. I find that you should get mad at people. I do. I get mad at diverers. For some reason, I'm weird. I can forgive probably the worst human being who's ever lived in history, but not somebody who stands on the left side of the escalator. I'm a complex man.
I mean, that's an interesting concept. Do you believe in karma?
I believe in it in not in some universal force, but if you're a dick to people are probably going to be a dick back. However, there are people in this world, corporate psychopaths. I think if you're a corporate psychopath or anything in that realm, then I don't think karma will affect you, because I don't think you care enough that people dislike you.
They have too much protection. It's like, some people, they just they don't get what's coming to them. Like, there's always anomalies.
But the more and more you do stuff, the more and more bad things you do, that's going to accumulate over time. That's going to come back and affect you.
Yeah. Is that really karma, or is that just logic?
I'd say, well, I don't know. Do you believe in karma?
I guess in a spiritual sense, I feel like if you have a good energy, then, not necessarily that always good things will come back to you, but if you have a good positive energy, I think that does attract more of that. And I think that you can affect the surroundings around you with that, and sort of the same with negative energy. But most people most people aren't positive energy all the time. They're not negative energy all the time. It's like it's a mix of both. People make mistakes, so sometimes you can be a good person for a long time, and then something can come back from in the past, and you're like, "Wow, I was such a good person," but it's just like it was like long overdue. It was dithering. The bad energy was dithering, and it's come back for you.
So what about somebody who's a drug dealer or something like that? Is that, say you have things, you're doing a bad thing for maybe a good reason. There's people who drug deal because of circumstance where someone in their family might be ill, not able to work. They need to provide money for the rest of their family, so they start.
Should we do that? Should we get into the ethics of drugs?
Get into the ethics of drugs, yes.
Do you know, because we've discussed this before about doing a drug episode, and your idea, which I didn't really understand, was to have a drug dealer and interview him.
Just be like...
A current one, not a reformed one, like an active drug dealer. And I feel like they probably wouldn't be a very good drug dealer if they were on the show talking about their current activities.
Put them in a balaclava.
Put them in a balaclava.
Now you that's infected me.
Put him in a bally, as they say in South London. Put him in a bally. Change up his voice. Give him one of the voice.
He can change his voice. He could come on and do it himself. He just speaks.
In a bally.
Like Christian Bale was Batman. Like, I'm drug dealer.
Yeah, I was thinking high pitch for some reason.
Oh, okay.
Hello, I was selling 3/5, and
any man who comes near me, I shank him up in it if they're gonna. But he's got a really high pitched voice. No, because obviously I have to get the strap when I'm going down Brixton because of
That's
the
just
ops.
someone from Birmingham, actually. You're just doing a Birmingham accent.
What are your thoughts on the gender gap with drug dealers?
Excuse me. Is this a movement that I've missed?
Women have sex work. That's female drug dealing, in my opinion.
Whoa.
Have you never had a female drug dealer?
No.
Ever?
No.
I guess not. And I wouldn't know which HR department to speak to.
I wouldn't be opposed to it.
I know some. I know that also some people do females for females.
See, Phoebe, you seem like somebody who, knows their way around buying a drug.
If the police or my family are listening, then no.
Well, let's say hypothetically.
Hypothetically.
You look like you know where to get acid.
This is what everyone says, and I actually have never. I've never done acid.
That's never a sentence that I've heard about anyone else. So if someone said about you multiple times, that is concerning.
People say that, or MD. I got that a lot.
Do you often buy female when it comes to drugs? Do you try and seek out your support your sister?
No, it's not an active thought. No.
What's the relationship like with women and drug dealers? Because I know a few girls who then really start fancying their drug dealer. Cause
really?
Yeah, I've known a couple who start fancying them because they're like this ultimate bad boy.
I see.
There's sort of, oh my god, because he's making a bit of money, but he's a bit of a bad boy.
Really like a long-term job prospect, though.
No, but it's the psychology of that is, I think there'll be a male equivalent of it as well. But people who go for relationships like that don't value themselves and need to go for something where they can put all their worth in, knowing it's going to fail, knowing it's going to mess up. Whereas if they go with someone who, he goes to university and he's getting a degree and now he's working here and he's really good and he's a very sort of lovely guy, there's certain people who go, oh my God, I don't deserve this, I'm going to ruin it, so they don't get close to him, or they always find issues with them and push them away. It's interesting.
That is interesting. I mean, I guess on a man-to-man level, any gender can get attracted to their drug dealer. I mean, there are desirable elements. They bring you happiness, literally. They're always on time. Sometimes they are.
They are never on time.
They're never on time to be sometimes, but they're productive. They're proactive. Do you know what I mean? There are a lot of desirable elements of they're self-employed entrepreneurs.
They don't have to do a tax return either. The best part of being they've really nailed the self-employed angle.
Yeah.
But most of them do have jobs to funnel the money through. So I was speaking to someone about. I knew a guy who got arrested drug dealing, but there was this new scheme where they make you get a job. So instead of going to jail, the police were like, "You've got to get a job," and he started working his job with the best hours ever because it was just in the morning. And then he was like, "Yeah, I now have a really good way of washing quite a bit of money." And so the police don't go, "How are you affording this car now?" He's like, "Well, I got a job.
Yeah.
I bought it off a friend." And yeah. But I think that
Sad times for our economy, though, when drug dealers are having to get second or third jobs. There used to be a time where they could just make money off drug dealing. This is really... Boris's Britain is really in the pits right now.
really
I think.
affecting everyone, isn't it?
We need to talk to Martin Lewis about this, Money Supermarket guy. It's just about...
Who?
You know Martin Lewis?
I don't know Martin Lewis.
You never get that email update from Money Supermarket. He tells you best ways to save money.
I feel like this is a Nigerian print scam that's going on, or some Money Supermarket scam that you've fallen through.
Money
And
Supermarket.
that was 16 minutes until Elliot made it all about race.
I didn't make it about race. That's
there
a
we
thing.
go again.
And that is not
Money
race.
Supermarket is a reputable...
But I was saying it's a scam like the
It's a
Nigerian
literal meerkat.
prince. Money Supermarket isn't the meerkat. That's compared to market.
The market.
No, you're now being racist towards
Meerkats,
websites.
and you're being racist towards Nigerians.
I'm not.
But,
The Nigerian print scam. It's an actual...
I'm talking about a guy who saves people money.
Yeah.
And that's it, Martin Lewis.
I didn't know he existed.
And then you just brought it to Nigeria somehow.
Because you were like, I'm getting emails off this guy, and I was going, oh, it's like a Nigerian print scam.
Yeah, it's a newsletter.
It's a Nigerian print newsletter.
Connor Black man get an email.
How has this been made out that I'm fucking Tommy Robinson?
In your Fred Perry polo.
That's not Fred Perry,
why.
but this is why I can't wear polos. I do look like I want to throw a brick at a mosque in them. It is a bad look for me. Like, I
every
have such a
CCTV image after an England game that's gone wrong is wearing what you're wearing right now.
Dude, I have such a racist face.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
An occasional vocal cord. So
that wasn't racist.
well, where were we though?
Martin Lewis.
Okay, drug dealers getting second jobs. All right, moving on from there. I don't know, man. Is it an unethical job to have drug dealing?
I think it's like anything. There'll be people. It's like any line of work. There will be people in it who are what we'll deem as unethical people. People who aren't afraid, who want to get ahead and are nasty, and there'll be people who are in it because they want to make a bit of money. It's a really easy way to make money. There'll be people in it. I don't think they should feel bad about the consequences of their actions, because the people who decide to do drugs are adults for the majority.
Depends on the drug, though. You know.
So what about if you were dealing to someone that was quite obviously younger? What are your thoughts there?
Oh, I used to buy weed when I was about 14 or 25-year-old. It wasn't, yeah.
But what about the like ethics of that? If you're meeting someone, they're in their school uniform, so they're probably like revising for some kind of exam. Do you think you have a moral duty to leave a pamphlet with the 3-5?
Or at least sell them, instead of weed, maybe sell them Adderall, something that can help them revise, something that's got better for their future.
Okay, but that's the point. Adderall is worse for you than weed. So I've got ADHD, as we were talking about before the pod, and people have always been going to me, oh, you should go get... So I got taken off the ADHD register because I kept forgetting to turn up to my meetings.
The ADHD register?
Yeah, there's
like the sex offenders. Right?
Yeah, there's like a register. So it's the ADHD and the autism unit, right? It's all combined into one thing. And I have ADHD, and they kept going, you got to come to these meetings. And I just never went.
Because you have ADHD.
Because I have ADHD. Anyone turning up to them's a liar.
Yeah.
And then they went, you clearly aren't taking this seriously, so we're going to take you off the register to get help. And I was like, fine. I'm a little bit conservative with this stuff. I could be wrong. I know for some people medication and things like that are right. I with mental health issues think it's down to you. I have you're an adult. It's down to you to go and seek the things to fix it. It's not down to the rest of the world. And we
in terms of what, for example?
If you've got ADHD and you get distracted all the time and it's affecting your life, you've got to learn how to do routine and things like that, and you've got to work harder on it because it's your job as someone who has that disadvantage. Now, you're much more advantaged in other things, I think, with ADHD, like creative thought and those processes. The mind wanders a lot. That's good for that. Remember to write those things down and come back to them and actually work on them. You've got to learn to do that. Timekeeping and fit. My room's a mess at the minute. I go, right, tonight when I get back from a gig, I've got to tidy this, otherwise I won't.
Last of the walls that you've punched in as well.
The last of the walls since Kurt Zuma.
Yeah.
Well, no, Rudiger.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I was thinking of...
You're just mad about that cat still.
I was mad about the cat.
Just punch you every now and then. But, okay. But then that's why we have things in place to help people with certain things, because maybe they don't know how to get help, and it's the same with people who are buying drugs and they're in need. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes they need help to get them out of that situation, but drug dealers aren't helping.
For sure. I get what you're saying, but I think if you're most people who start dealing drugs probably start at a teenage age. It's a quick way to make money. I never did it. But I know people.
You do it?
Could I do it? I was never. Anytime I thought about it, I was.
Oh, you thought about it?
Yeah, because I had friends who were doing it who were making money. I just saw it as too much of a risk. I thought, I come from quite a nice middle class home. I don't need to do this.
It would make the paper.
You'd make money, but I also thought I just don't know. I'm one of those drug dealers who gets robbed.
Right, yeah.
Omar would come knocking, and I'd hear him whistle and just throw the
throw the bags out.
Throw the bags. Go, you take it, mate.
Let him have it.
It's yours. I don't want to. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it, but I don't think there's anything. I think it comes down to the ethics of drugs. For me personally, human beings throughout history have wanted to get fucked up. If people want to get fucked up, they should be allowed to get fucked up because it's your body, it's your choice. My opinion on all of this stuff is the one thing I own. Everything else is houses, things I don't own any, but a car or anything like that. That's just an agreement-based thing that we have that you own this. What really is owning something? Well, I own my body. I truly own this. That's why I should be allowed to do with whatever I want to this because it's mine.
Should we just legalize it all?
Yeah, it's mine. If I want to do stuff to it, I should be allowed to do stuff to it. Not the government. The government shouldn't be allowed to say because some guy. Most of the drug. I'll make it about race. Most of the drug laws come from racist old white people from back in the day. The whole thing about marijuana, the way they scared people away from it, was they were like, oh, white women are going to smoke it and want to sleep with black men. That was their thing. That was one of the selling points. So
they are doing that,
and they are,
I can vouch for this. But okay, so you think that drugs in themselves are ethical, but what do you think about the actual drug system? Because you're saying everyone has a choice. Well, why are there so many like really young drug dealers? So there's normally like a big, like obviously not quite this exaggerated, but a big drug lord, and then they've got like little minions sometimes. So
someone's been watching Top Boy, but no, this is
you get like little 11-year-olds going around on bikes dropping stuff off.
You get people exploit. You get people sent on county lines,
and they probably feel like they don't have as much of a choice, because if they had a choice, realistically, how many people would be sacrificing like time that they could be spending like in school or spending with their mates or doing like anything, and like the danger that they're putting themselves in?
If you legalized all drugs, it would make those little drug runners invalid. They wouldn't
get into credit card fraud.
Yeah, okay.
It's a victimless crime.
I wasn't saying that we move on to moving little kids into other crimes. I was saying getting them out of the crime system altogether.
But there's always going to be crime. There's always going to be. But what you were saying there, Phoebe, is they're being exploited by someone, but it's a reflection of the society we are in.
That's what I mean. So if we legalize drugs, that's less exploitation in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I think you should. I don't.
Apparently, Portugal have done that.
They decriminalized everything.
And
Which
they've got Ronaldo.
They've got Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Don't look up why he can't go to America.
Look, the view shared by Elliot still. We can't afford to get sued by Ronaldo.
Yeah.
I can barely afford a podcast in the studio every week.
He can sue us, but only if he comes to the court date in America.
Yeah.
Ronaldo. But I think with what happened in Portugal, they decriminalised everything, and within decriminalised, when I say legalise, I don't mean you can pop into Costcutter and buy some smack. I think there should be it makes the purity of the drugs cleaner. A lot of the times it's the impurities that kill people. And you have to, for the first couple of years, it'd probably be chaos, and then it would level out. Because you know that first weekend.
Oh my gosh.
Where drugs are legal.
Oh my gosh. Heroin with the lads?
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, that's another question I was going to ask. Do you think there's a drug? Do you think there's a level? What, you're happy to legalise all drugs, basically?
All of them?
I'm not saying legalise, I'm saying maybe decriminalise or, I don't think there's anything that...
Do you think every drug is ethically sound?
I guess if people want to get messed up, they should be allowed to. In whatever way they think is that they want to do, whatever their release is.
Do you feel differently about someone who's a weed dealer and someone who deals heroin to clear addicts?
No, but those people who are addicts need help, and you can do that with a decriminalisation of drugs and go, hey, here's a safe place for you to shoot up. We're going to have a needle exchange, so we're going to try and lower the rates of HIV and Hep C.
But the dealer's not going to do that. So that's why I'm asking, like, do you see a difference in a weed dealer to a heroin dealer?
I guess, but it depends how much. If you're selling directly, this is the thing where it comes down to. If you were selling directly to someone, like, hey, here's my bag, I need my heroin. I don't know really how much you pay for heroin or anything, you know.
I don't really know quantities of heroin, thankfully.
Yeah,
which is good. None of us do.
But if
hopefully none of our listeners do either.
Has anyone ever worked in a bar?
No.
Okay, so I used to work in a pub, and we had a guy that would come in, and he'd refer to himself as an alcoholic. Like, his name was like blank, the alcoholic, and that's how he'd refer to himself. And I always felt really awkward giving him drinks.
But he's an adult.
Exactly. But he would be
that's
like
bar banter.
Yeah. Yeah. But it would be like you just watch him like deteriorate throughout the day and just like keep giving him drinks. Like, do you think anyone has a moral?
He's made the decision to do it. If people are offering the channel for help and he's not willing to get help, he's going to drink himself to death. But he has a right to do that.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. You should be able. He owns his body. It's not down to anyone else to tell him what he should or shouldn't. He's doing what he wants to do with it.
You don't have to tell him what to do, but do you think it would also be okay to refuse him service?
If he was being a cunt, if you
were just like, no, I don't feel comfortable serving you anymore. Someone else, like, give it over to someone else. Like, if someone came to you, if you were a dealer and someone like started picking up like more and more regularly, it became obvious they had a bit of a problem. Would you say anything, or is that bad for business?
Yeah, like what, if you're a drug dealer, what if a pregnant lady comes up to you, there's probably some drug dealers who would still sell, but there's probably some where like, you know what, this is my line right here. I'm going to wait till she has the baby and then I'm going to start selling to her again because, I have morals.
I had a mate who had a situation like that who was selling to people, and when he noticed people would be buying quite frequently, it's quite common drug dealers cut them off and go, it's quite a common thing where they go, I'm not feeding your habit anymore. I'll sell to you a few times a week, but I can't be selling to you like this.
Yeah, that's probably from a moral place, but that's also, let's be honest, from a place of, if they die under my thing, that's going to come back to me.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So there's different elements there, but I think, I always wonder, like,
but that's
you say it's people's
for a bad
free
reason, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Because you're saying about it's that person's free will to drink themselves to death. Do you know what I mean? But like, if something has control over you to that extent, is it even free will? Are you free? If something has control over you, you're a slave to the alcohol. You're a slave to the drug. That's what addiction is.
Yeah, I guess.
And maybe it takes a good person, a bartender, a young bartender, a drug dealer with a heart of gold to free you from that addiction.
But This is my thing. It's perfectly acceptable. Everyone would sit here and agree, for the most part, that an alcoholic going to a bar and drinking themselves to death is fine. For some reason, we go, whoa, heroin? You're not allowed to do that, which I think's, if we're going to allow one, allow the other.
In the same beer garden.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
There's a lot going on. Imagine in summer, you've got one table and the other one, everyone's just sprawled out.
Get the string out, lads.
You're having to hose them down in this, putting them in a recovery position. I wouldn't personally. I know people who fucked with heroin. I know people who've done it. I wouldn't, because I can't open a packet of crisps and stop myself. It's just, I can't have a biscuit. I can't just have one. But sometimes I like to go, maybe I'm the guy who could do heroin just once. Maybe I'm the guy, but I know.
I've heard that it's amazing that first time. I heard that first time is like the best thing, and then you're just always chasing that high. But
if you shoot it.
Chasing the dragon, if you shoot it.
If you shoot it.
Wow.
So I've got a separate question about the ethics of drugs, but from a different point of view. Do we have a moral, what's the word, if you should be doing something?
Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a moral, I can't think of the word.
I don't think you do have a question.
Should we be taking drugs in a different way, basically? Is it, so you know how even like smoking cigarettes, it comes from like a tobacco ceremony in like rainforests and stuff. I think that's where is it grown in rainforests? It's grown somewhere. Anyway, where it's grown, they have like ceremonies, and it's all very spiritual, and quite often drugs originally, they came from like our ancestors, like connecting to nature and other things like that. And now we are mass producing everything and like, yeah, just using it to get fucked up, like you said. So yeah, maybe we have a moral duty to getting fucked up, but do we also have a moral duty to actually taking these drugs properly?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's none of that human spiritual connection that there used to be. I guess with all that ayahuasca tea and stuff like that.
Even caffeine. Like we've massively capitalized on all of this. Do you think that now actually we've messed it up a bit, and that's why we've got such a problem, because we've done the classic human thing of taking something?
I guess, if people were taking drugs in the past to connect to something, to understand more, and if people are doing it now to almost run away from stuff and just get fucked up, I think that is sort of maybe that's part of the moral failing side of the taking drugs. I mentioned I think it's the first or second pod about that time I ordered my magic mushrooms, which I haven't done again if the feds are listening. Even though a lot of people in the TikTok comic sections, they messaging me about mushrooms they can get me. Yeah, I turned them all down. I was like, you can get me once, feds. You're not gonna get me again.
A lot of people called you a liar as well.
Yeah, a lot of people, they didn't think that the police. Yeah, I don't know why, but the police came to my house. They saw that second name. They were like, we're gonna check this out. Michael Williams, they would have left that alone. But Michael Wale, they were like, we're gonna give him a slap on the wrist, or knee on the neck.
Whoa, who made it racial?
Who made it racial?
That's what you said. And we're gonna get
I think they made it racial. For the past 400 years, they made it racial. But yeah, so like even then, I ordered mushrooms on a slightly spiritual level. I'm not gonna lie, I wanted it for creativity, but I'm also someone who kind of likes to be a bit introspective, so I wanted to understand it on that level. I don't think I would take something like that, for example, just on let me pop this for fun. But something like cocaine, I don't know if there's any spirituality behind cocaine. I just associate that with like Wall Street people and stuff like that,
Yeah, the cocaine problem in the UK is scary.
Is it big?
It's huge. The people just go to the pub and get on it now. They don't. I was talking to a comic one. I won't name them, but they put it perfectly to me one time. We'll have them on as well, and then I'd ask if I could name. I don't know if they want me to name saying something like this, but he was going. It used to be a naughty thing. It was every few months someone would go, I've got a bit of coke on me. And it was like, ooh, this is exciting. And now people do it all the fucking time. all the time. But and there's like a real culture of it in the UK at the minute that's quite worrying, where everyone just goes and gets on it all the time. People this is the thing with something like coke that people have to be careful with. You have to look for if you're using the thing you're going to as an excuse to do coke. So if you go, oh, let's go there and we can get some coke, you're using that thing as an excuse.
Yeah.
So you have to. I don't think it's that all people are addicts. You have to break it, do a circuit break, just go like a month without seshing, without doing that, and break that association, which is what a lot of people, I think, struggle. But cocaine, you never take coke and be like, oh, I had the most wonderful spiritual experience. I came out of it the other side. You wake up the next day and you go, oh, I really freaked out those girls. I was really, I really gave my opinion on some conspiracy theories, didn't I?
Which you do anyway, but this time just the jaws.
Just your jaw swinging.
Yeah.
Apart from coke, I think the rest of them you can be pretty spiritual on.
MD, you probably could.
MD, you probably could. I haven't done Ket, but apparently you can get very spiritual on Ket.
I've never understood Ket. I've done it a few times. I never got into it.
So you seem like somebody who has in the past or might currently be living life on the line. Living life.
People are gonna be wondering why we got sunglasses on. yours look stylish. Yours and Phoebe's are stylish. Mine looks like I've not slept. I'm like Christopher in season 5 of The Sopranos, where everything's going wrong. That's my vibe.
Yours just looks like there's dark secrets that you're hiding.
I take it off and my eyes are all red and I've got a black eye. What happened? I don't want to talk about it. I owe some Albanian men money.
But would you say you ever got to the point where it might not have been addiction, but close to that point?
No, I definitely, with my experiences in the past of probably getting on it, I was probably in my 20s, which I still am. Was in show business. It's all very exciting. And I wasn't that mad into it or anything like that, but I definitely notice if I'm not feeling okay in myself, the first thing I notice is I start going out and partying a lot more.
Right.
So now I recognize that and go, ooh, something's bothering me.
Right.
But this is the thing. Going out and partying is a lot of fun. It just doesn't have to be my problem at the moment is where I'm gigging so much. I just keep drinking.
That's another just British thing.
The accepted level of drinking in this country, when you really think about it, and I notice it, right? I notice it, it's interesting. I notice it when I hang out with people who are second generation immigrants, usually of, their parents are first generation immigrants, and they've not been brought up in what you might call the British drinking culture. How much I drink.
Oh, right. Because even 2 to 3 pints a night will add up if you're doing that 4 or 5 times a week.
Dude, I can I can go days without a drink.
Yeah.
I've not got I know people, you've got a drinking problem. Yeah, this is the problem, right? This is where ex-addicts are the most fucking annoying people with this. Because you'll say that they really want to put it on you that you've got a problem. So they're always like, well, the first step is admitting it. And you go, no, I'm just 25 and working in stand-up comedy, and beer's quite regularly available and often free. So
but then that soon turns to being 45 working in stand-up comedy. Beer's readily available still.
Yeah, so you have to teach yourself not to have a level of control, which I think comes with getting older. But an addict will be like, oh, that's how it starts. And I'm like, no, I didn't. You're an addict. You fucked up your kid's birthday party because you turned up stinking of vodka dressed as Spider-Man and then pissed yourself.
That is entertainment.
That is. I'd pay to see that. That'd be the best birthday party ever. If you, imagine you were a parent, you had to take your kid to a birthday party, and one of the other parents just downed a litre of vodka, came in dressed as Spider-Man, and went, and just pissed everywhere, and kids were crying.
I'd be like, fuck, I can't top that. No, I was gonna hire a juggler. That's good shit.
Yeah, the Creepy Crawly Man's not gonna cut. Do you remember the Creepy Crawly Man?
What the hell is that?
Bro, did you not have the Creepy Crawly Man?
I did not.
He'd never come to your school.
What the fuck is the Creepy Crawly Man?
The Creepy Crawly Man would come to school and he'd bring all creepy crawlies.
What?
Yeah. Bit of a weird name for a kid's entertainer, isn't it? Creepy Crawly.
Are you
Didn't
saying
he-
like
he
spiders?
bring bugs in?
Yeah, it'd bring like locusts, tarantulas, all sorts.
So just like a zoologist.
Fucking probably, but he's called the Creepy Crawly Man.
Yeah, maybe if you were 5, but then you grew up and then learnt his actual name of his profession.
This isn't a thing I thought about since I was 5. So it's in that box of 5, which is why I'm calling him as the Creepy Crawly Man.
Creepy Crawly Man. I never had a...
People said that there was the Creepy Crawly Man.
He just had spiders?
No, he had all sorts.
Was he
Snakes.
scheduled to come in? Like he was a...
Nah, he just would turn up on a Tuesday sometimes.
Headmaster's just like, yeah, science.
It's a South London.
Shush your spiders.
These kids are carrying knives. They'll be able to deal with a cobra.
He's not touching them. He'll be out. You know what I mean?
Did you have a pervert teacher at school?
I did not. Did you? You saying this as in it's a common thing?
We had a couple.
You had creepy, crawly men and paedophiles. I understand so much about who you are as a person now.
We had
Was this in first school or secondary school?
secondary school.
Yeah.
Secondary school. Pervert in primary school isn't funny.
No.
That's that. I don't know what it is, but it's pervert in primary school is a little bit. Whoa, we can't laugh about this on the podcast.
On the podcast.
Secondary school pervs though, yeah.
Yeah,
we had one.
Post 11 pervs is fair game.
Yeah, we had that. We used to have this janitor just take pictures of us, and it was a performing art. It would just be recording us at break and like laughing about it, and then we.
Knees or what?
Are you sure he was pervy or he wasn't just taking the piss out of drama students?
No. It was pervy, and then he would come to the dance class and would always catch it and like looking in. When we were doing our dance class,
Maybe one of the kids was his illegitimate child, but he couldn't tell them, and he's just like filming the footage.
I'm gonna go with Octon's razor here and just say he wanted to fuck some 14-year-olds rather than he was, and the way he did that was working at a school. I don't know if he started working there and he found himself, his journey of self-discovery, that he was a paedophile.
Right, because that could be the thing. You could not be a paedophile, and then you get to school and like, oh, this is unlocked.
Yeah, it's like I found myself.
Yeah.
I really learnt so much working with kids. I'm what they might call in prison protected custody. Who was your school pervert, Phoebe?
Oh, we had a teacher who would then go out to the nightclubs in the town near our school and like meet up with everyone in the nightclubs.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Was he hot?
And he'd be like, no.
Oh.
No. So he'd find us there after we like turned 18, or like I'm assuming if he thought we'd get fake ID, whatever, and then would try and buy us drinks or like but he got found out. He tried to sell drugs to one of the
sorry, is Walter White? Did you go to school with Walter White?
He tried to sell drugs to a student who was actually like she was a daughter of someone like really high up in the school. I can't remember exactly what their title, like
She was a
head
snitch.
teacher-ish, basically. And yeah, he's been banned from the school. But he said some things when we were there. He'd be like, "Oh, the girls' skirts are too long," and things like that.
Just when guys start saying things like that, I always think you're not even trying to hide it.
No.
At least have a little bit of I need to
Subtlety.
hide that I'm a pervert.
He was new as well, so you think he want to try and make a good first impression, but he was like adding everybody on Facebook.
Oh no, dude, you can't
Like
be doing
commenting
that.
on everyone's Facebook posts, talking about like that because he was a language teacher, like talking about the oral exams and like making like
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
But we all found it funny. Like looking back
Yeah,
on it,
we found it funny.
Was like, oh my god, actually that's so bad. But at the time we were like, ha ha ha, this guy's hilarious.
I'm finding it funny now.
I mean,
I think I don't know what it is, but as someone who was like had a couple of pervert teachers at school, oh my god, do you know the worst one we had? And I actually really liked this teacher. He was fucking cool, wasn't it? But he was just a bit of a lad. And sometimes, like, the girls would walk into PE and he'd go. We had separate PE classes, obviously, and I was in a football team. He was like, "You lads need to be getting stuck in there."
whoa.
That was what he would say to us. And we were like 14, 15. He was like proper PE locker room chat.
Yeah.
He once, oh my God, this is so bad.
You're just having so many unlocked childhood memories.
Dude,
just coming
I had
out
some
right now.
fucking mental things at school.
Don't you hate looking back at things that you thought were like wholesome memories and you're like, oh, actually that adult was really messed up?
Yeah, he
They're gonna,
he
kids are gonna think
he
about
used to
that. Us
shout
one
at football to teenagers. He used to shout, if you took a bad touch, there's a footballing term for that, but it shouldn't be used in school. It shouldn't be used at all. Where you go, you have the touch of a rapist.
Oh yeah, classic.
And he could see, can't steal it. You got a touch of a rapist. Can't get the ball forward.
That's
And
just like old school Harry Redknapp.
it's old school football, but
I don't even understand that. Why?
because
So
it's a
you're-
bad touch. It's quite
A bad touch. So
a
it's
bad touch in
okay.
football. Yeah. Well, he
Rapists famously have,
Yeah.
but also to explain the metaphor,
famously.
famously, almost their trademark. is-
like it's like their bail thing when they do the hard side.
that is their UPS.
But shouting that, I understand what people say now. Like you normalize that kind of thing because sometimes I do go with when people are like you got to ban words and talking these ways. I do go with that. That was a normalization about talking about that subject in an unhealthy manner in a locker room chat way. It wasn't. You know, that's not a good, and especially to teenagers, you're going to shout something like that, and they're then going to go through life thinking it's acceptable to sort of talk that way, which I guess is probably why I sometimes say things, why are people getting upset? And it's probably because of things like that, where you go, but that's just how people speak, and you don't take into account other people's feelings or attitudes towards that kind of language.
Elliot's had a breakthrough. Boom.
I'm not going to do anything to work on it.
Oh yeah, Mark. It's on. I think I didn't have a pervy teacher. I think I was pervy towards teachers. There's a teacher I always used to try and hold her hand in the hallway.
What the fuck, Mike?
Like I'd be walking past her and I'd brush my hand past her hand, like just we touch thumbs.
How old were you?
17. No. No, I was like, this is in primary school. I just always wanted to brush past, hold her hand a bit.
You have the same technique now.
Yeah, that's I've not improved.
You were dropping the same game at 7
yeah,
as you
yeah,
are
yeah.
at 26.
yeah, it's 20 years game, and it's still the same to this day.
We had a couple of naughty teachers. There was a few. There was who was it? Darcy was telling me once that one of the teachers from her school, sort of like yours, Phoebe, went and met up with a girl in town. They were in the club. She was about 18 and ended up taking her home, which is, I mean, it's legal, but it's definitely
VAR.
not. Yeah.
Is it legal whilst they're still teaching? I don't think it is.
No, it's not legal if you can't have. Fucking weirdly, I know this because a teacher told us.
Okay.
Sorry, Mike, that shout scared you.
Well, yeah.
Sorry,
That's okay.
it was very delicate and I forget sometimes.
Okay, go. Tell us your point.
You didn't like being called delicate, did you?
No, it's strange.
So it's funny, sometimes you'll share jokes like that to Mike and he'll really put a face and let you know that he didn't enjoy it.
We won't go there again. Yeah.
If you're teaching someone, if someone's 16 and you're teaching them and they're a student of yours, it's illegal to have sex with them. I think up until 18.
I think you're still not allowed to if you're teaching them and they're 18.
Are we really gonna bookend the podcast by giving loopholes on how teachers can fuck kids?
Yeah, you've got 10 minutes left. You might want to go on to
Really
a different topic.
gonna just
It was. I was saying it was weird that a teacher told me that.
right.
I wasn't saying
he was giving you the loophole.
He
in
was
case
giving us. He was giving us the loophole.
He was passing on the recipe, passing on the codes. in case
Yeah.
you also.
It wasn't me. It wasn't. I didn't. Hey guys, I've extensively researched this area. And
I've looked at the pros. Do you know what's funny? Like my first, I had a guy in school, and he used to sell chicken wraps, and he's kind of like my first experience with a drug dealer, because he had the best chicken wraps on the school, and the canteen would get mad at him. He puts chicken wraps were like £2, and he used to make them at home and sell them in school.
What was in the chicken wrap?
So yeah, chicken. So that's the basis.
But what's the wrap?
No, I was getting into it. I was naming all the recipes. Yeah, you had chicken, and they had a salsa sauce, and it was like mayo and lettuce. It was a really good, solid chicken wrap, and that's my first probably somebody successfully sort of hustling, that old. I wonder where he is now. Probably is selling drugs, but the way he undercut the system like that is very it's very cool to watch.
Admirable. We had a guy in our school, Dwayne. I shouldn't have said his name.
He's not listening.
Nah, he's not. But I can't go on to say what I was going to say. I can't tell the rest of the story. But he started out selling sweets and Frutella, and you go buy tangos off him in multi-packs.
And now he's a pimp.
Not far off.
Wow.
And,
Okay. Gateway kid.
Yeah.
Lucas Aid to vagina.
I did that one time. I started selling sweets in school, but then I did get punched up and robbed.
By other sweet sellers?
No, just by some kids who just wanted my stuff. Just kind of fucked me up and took everything and went, what? And that was my first introduction to,
Yeah.
never own anything valuable.
You went into a new territory and you hadn't really looked at the market. Because there was a guy who started selling chicken wraps and he was undercutting this guy selling the first chicken wraps. But his chicken wraps weren't as good. And also, he did get in trouble. They did have an altercation.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And which is kind of like the introduction into the drug dealing world. My school was very interesting in terms of it was kind of a microcosm of the world as a whole. Because we had 2 sections in the school, right? One of them we called the suburbs, where mainly white people hung out, and then we had the ghetto.
Who named who what? Because
we named it. It was just a self-named.
Okay, right.
We had the ghetto and the suburbs, and
that's so not okay.
the ghetto was run down. Like the computers were broken. Like nothing worked. We spent a long time rapping in there, and then the suburbs were nice. Suburbs were very nice. It was a lot bigger, a lot more civilized, and sometimes there were people who could sort of maneuver both worlds, like the Obamas. Do you know what I mean? They could like talk to the suburbs, talk to the ghetto, but it's kind of like a microcosm of the world as a whole.
And did you ever have, we had this at school, did you ever have race-based football teams?
Oh, yeah. That's cool. Did you, was it a bit tricky when the whites won?
Yeah. It was,
Well, you wouldn't really win that often.
The black team was so much better.
Yeah, I imagine whites would have good foundation, but you couldn't really deal with the pace.
I wasn't gonna say it.
Yeah,
I didn't want to be the guy.
whites would have a solid 4-4-2. You know what I mean?
Old school long ball football.
No frills, hard tackling, getting in there. Well, you couldn't deal with the pacing behind the wingers. You know.
No, it was the black.
It's like Guardiola versus Mourinho.
Yeah,
you know
the black had really revolutionised the fullback position. White people, we would never we could get up but we couldn't get back. Really, it put us on the back foot a lot. Yeah, we had race-based football. That's funny that's just how when you grow up in that environment. Whenever you see, how do you feel about these people who say things like, "I don't see race"?
I don't. It doesn't really make sense. I don't understand because color is a color, right? So you see it.
Yeah.
And plus, like, there's so many things linked to your race and culture that to say that you don't see it it's confusing. It's not as liberal as they think, you know?
Okay, then here's a thing to do with the philosophy and drugs and race.
Wow.
It's completely socially acceptable, especially as we were talking about in this country, you should call it the suburbs or something like that, for people to take cocaine or MDMA. Absolutely socially acceptable for white people to do that. When black people in America started using crack, and it was a problem in the ghetto in America, the sentence for crack, I believe, was usually 7 times more than a sentence for cocaine, and cocaine was seen as a more white, wealthy drug.
Only difference is baking soda.
Mm-hmm. So
20 years more.
Yeah, and it was like a lot more. So that's where, again, my thing with the efforts of drugs is a lot of drugs is used as a racist. It comes from an old white system of racism.
Especially now when you have the opioid crisis in America, which is sort of affecting a lot of middle America. So a lot of white people in Ohio and those places there, you know, so white people are now suffering heavily in large numbers with that drug, and sort of the reaction to that has been rehabilitation, has been what can we do to solve this as a wider crisis. And then you see what happened in the 80s, and it was like, these people are criminals and we're locking them up, and some of them are still locked up to this day. So I wanted to actually, you're actually seeing now the legalization of weed a lot,
Yeah.
right? And there is that thing there about a lot of people who used to sell weed back in the day. They're still in prison. They've still been criminalized and made to look evil. So what do you think now about the ethics of weed now becoming sort of a market, the weed market? I mean, it's probably only a matter of time before in this country it probably becomes legalized, for example.
Yeah, it will probably more likely happen under a conservative or liberal Democrat government than Labour government, probably, because Labour, for some reason...
Well, conservatives see the money at the end of the day.
Yeah, and Labour, I think, are scared. They want, like, conservative votes, so they never actually have liberal social policies. They always have slightly more liberal economic policies. So when it comes to social issues, they're kind of like, no, look, trans people don't exist, and they're doing that because they're trying to keep a conservative base as well, which is infuriating. But I think if it happens, you're right, it'll be under a conservative way, and would be all about making money, and then you're going to see it capitalism to the extreme, and suddenly it's going to be okay to invest in the people who money makes money. So the people who make money already have money. So they'll get in early doors. It's not going to be, oh, you legalize. And that's what I'm saying. People who sell drugs then have to find a new criminal outlet, which they will.
The gentrification of drug dealing.
Well, there is a gentrification of drug dealing a lot of the time. But I think drug dealing is now, for the most part, most people do it through the internet.
Right.
Or, that way. I mean, people still do, obviously, buy drugs the old school way, but through the internet, it's a lot safer. It's a lot more convenient.
Yeah.
That's the thing with decriminalizing something and making it most people just want a convenient way to, relax after work. I'm talking about spliff or something like that. I know. What do you think on the gentrification of drugs?
Yeah, for me, it's a hard pill to take. No pun intended. I think if we can make it a way where sort of people who were originally drugged in, I know, for example, like Jay-Z, who's investing a lot in weed and stuff and like that. So maybe, I'm not saying that drugs are black owned, it should be just black owned shit, but in terms of people...
It'd be quite funny.
Yeah.
If that came a thing of we need black owned businesses and we're going to start with it'd be a real mixed message. You could be anything, an entrepreneur, as long as the black owned business, as long as we own the cocaine market there.
Weed and henny.
Whoa. You're sending out a lot of messages there, Mike.
It'd just be it'll be typical if it became that thing where it's like middle-aged white people who were shunning this and shaming people are now the ones to make the profit of it when it becomes legalized.
But that's what it is. That's what does happen. It's the same thing. It will just become a McDonald's version of drugs. So you'll probably eventually, there'll be certain brands that people use when it comes to buying. When I imagine in my life, I'll see the decriminalization of drugs majority wide, on most of it. I think politics. This is what I find weird about politics. You look at Portugal. Portugal's got a really good example, and we're too scared because fucking old people are allowed to vote, which is annoying. Once you pass 65, you shouldn't be voting.
65 is still pretty...
no, you don't know anything.
Sharp in the mind.
No, they're not.
That's they're still going to live for another 30 years or so.
I know, and they're going to let us know about it.
But, we also just not addressed as well, at the end of the day, the very beginning of the production line of the drugs. You look in Colombia, stuff like this. These are the people suffering.
If you're buying cocaine, then you can't, you're not ethical, but you use oil.
Yeah.
Okay, there's been illegal wars over that. So where are you going to draw?
I love that's your cop out. Yeah, there's no point being a good person. Yeah, use oil.
Dude, the West is in decline. We're going to pay heavily for it. Let me have the next 10 years of fun before we're all underwater.
Just 10 years?
I think the next 10 years are going to be... I think the next 10 years are going to still be... Oh, we're seeing the start of things going wrong. I reckon when we're in our 40s, we're going to go, whoops, we really should have done something.
Might as well start drinking.
Exactly.
drugs.
This is the
Look
thing.
at
This
that.
is why people drink and do drugs, because the world itself is depressing.
Look at that. I mean, that's a pretty sharp way to end. It seems to be that's how we end all of our pods. Like, just like, yeah, fuck it. Might as well.
I thought that was a good end.
I think we discussed, we didn't solve the drug crisis.
I don't think anyone was expecting that coming into this.
I think it would have been an ambitious goal. I need to stop setting some ambitious goals first.
In an hour as well.
In an hour, that would have been. Somebody had to do it.
Yeah.
Somebody had to tackle this.
We really sat down and finally two men started talking about an issue on a podcast. Finally, it happened.
Look at that. Well, what, you got anything you want to promote, Elliot, before we shoot off?
I do, thank you, Michael.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sometimes just you be polite and just say, "No, I'm cool."
Right. Well, you've really.
I mean, promote it.
Oh, it's slightly sour now.
Go promote.
I'm delicate as well, Michael, and you forget.
You're the only delicate one here. I'm not delicate at all.
I'm like a little flower and my feelings are petals, and you're riffing them.
Share your flowers.
Share my flower.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a skill to it.
Okay. Yeah.
This weekend I'll be at Birmingham Glee, Friday and Saturday doing the show. So if you live in Birmingham, come down. It's one of the funnest gigs.
Give the date.
This Friday and Saturday, if you are listening to this, and it's not this Friday or Saturday because you're listening to this in the past, you missed it.
Okay. Just give the date of things.
The 25th and the 26th of March.
Basic promotion is to give the date of the thing that you're going to do. Okay.
And then next week, 29th, 28th, 30th, 31st, the 1st, 2nd of April, I'm going to be in Austria at Altitude Festival. It will be a lot of fun. If you have the money to and want to book your tickets now, you won't regret it.
Any of our Austrian listeners, also, if you're free that day.
We got a couple, I think,
There we go.
Well, apparently we're doing well in the Singapore podcast charts.
Yeah?
Yeah.
There we go.
So we're gonna be. That's where our first live show is gonna be. Let's talk about drugs out there, and we'll get the death penalty.
Yeah.
And then also, if anybody is coming to Snowbombing in April, that's the week after Altitude, I will be doing shows there. And then I'm going to be at Match Festival, McCanliffe, on the 1st of May, and the Prince of Wales at some point, but I can't find that now. Michael, is there anything that you have coming up that you'd like to share with our wonderful audience?
Well, on the 5th of April, I'm emceeing the Street Easy Time comedy gig. You can find the details on my Instagram. I've also got a Brighton Fringe show, and I still don't know when that is. I don't know. I've been promoting it for 3 weeks now, and I have very few information about when it will be. But once I know, I'm going to promote the hell out of that show once I have those details.
We'll be posting your details on the Btec Philosophers Twitter page as well, which we've got up and running, which we've got about 70 followers, and the Instagram page. If you listen to this podcast, follow the Instagram name. We'll be posting a lot more clips. Sorry, I haven't been posting clips this week. I've been very, very busy. Once we set up a Patreon and get a bit of money, and we'll get like a proper editor and stuff, and have things a bit more scheduled and stuff like that. Because at the moment, it's just me and Mike kind of doing. Well, it's mainly Phoebe, if I'm honest with you. But we're sticking to our schedule, which I think's good.
Yeah, this is more like post-pod conversation that we don't know how to finish.
We don't know how to back out of this. We're still learning.
So that was Btec Philosophers.
Thank you
with
for listening,
Mike and Elliot.
Thank you.
So much.
Oh, is that the? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah.
You all right?